You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Pace Radio Show. We're live here at paceradio.net and cbgtv.com, as well as their social media locations. Good evening, Tamara. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm better this week than I was last week.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Just saying I'm good and having a smile on your face is a much improvement over how things were with you last week. That's for sure.
Last week was kind of brutal, but rheumatoid arthritis doesn't give you a choice. So you manage yourself through the flare and do the best you can, and it goes away. Like it comes in as it's like a storm. It comes in as quickly as it goes out. This one lasted a little longer than normal, but I started out with that shingle cold sore that I normally get on my nose.
Right.
So I took the antiviral, and then the antiviral overactivated my immune system, which is already overactive, right? That's why I take the methotrexate to even out and balance my immune system. So the antiviral just kicked my immune system into overdrive, which threw me into straight up flare. So I was down, but I'm back up. I started working back out to work on Monday. So
good.
Good.
How
are you doing? What's going on out there?
Out here, Gail and I, we took a few days off from things and went and spent some time relaxing beside a river, watching the water go by, and got involved in some ducky races.
Nice. That sounds like fun.
Unplugged to, I would say unplugged more than normal.
Did you get rid of those 1,000 pictures you were trying to get rid of?
Yes, I was just about to say that. I said I wanted to get rid of 1,000 pictures. That's what it was, the goal.
Yep.
I got 1,700 pictures deleted off my phone.
Holy.
My thumb was so sore.
Right. It's not as easy as it. I don't understand why they can't just. It's same with my inbox and my Gmail. I got like 88,000 emails, and I'm like, how am I going to erase all these? Like, why isn't there a button that just says erase all? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why can't it just be a button erase all? Right? Because
exactly.
we're going to get through those 88,000 emails to delete them.
No, delete them. Just so you know, we got a message. Anthony Foster, past guest on the Pace Radio Show. He says hello. Hello, Anthony. How you doing, buddy?
Nice to see you. How are things going in Hamilton, dude?
I'll let you know when he responds because he's still there.
It's always nice to have a sense of right?
Yeah.
So
the last time last time we were talking, it was a little cool. You're complaining about the coolness over there. How's things now? Like I know here we're feeling like 40.
Well, it's been 30 and 30 and 30 and 30, but last night it just plummeted to 4 degrees, and we've had that happen a couple times where it's plummeted. Like my hanging tomatoes actually died of frost 2 weeks ago because we got down to 4 degrees. So as we've been fluctuating, we had snow back on the mountains 2 weeks ago. Like all the peaks along the Rockies and along Fisher Peak were all like dusted with snow. And we're all just like, are you kidding me? And now it's been, steadily warming up, but it's been 31 degrees, but it's been rainy and just kind of like, not really, I don't even know if you want to call it summer. It's just kind of whatever, right?
Yeah.
And,
okay, I got two things I got to get to before we bring in our guest. First off, Anthony has answered your question. Canna crawl at the end of the month.
Ooh, that sounds like fun. What are the details on that, Anthony? Why don't you type in where, who, what, where, and how, and then we can, maybe let people know and get it out there.
That out. Yeah. Sounds good.
Harvest Fest, right? Can't forget about Harvest Fest.
I was just about to get to that. That was the other thing I was going to talk about, and that is Mom's Harvest Fest. And instead of me talking about it, let's have them talk about it.
Is 420 camping your thing? Do you like cannabis cups? Want to learn more about cannabis? Enjoy music festivals? Living on the East Coast or looking for a really good reason to visit? Then Harvest Fest is calling your name.
Join us the weekend of July 14th to 16th at Fox Mountain Camping Park in the Annapolis Valley, Nova Scotia, to meet like-minded people, have your cannabis questions answered, listen to great bands, and have a blast.
Service lots available and camping is included in festival admission. $60 for the weekend or $30 for Friday and $40 for Saturday. Food trucks, hot showers, flush toilets, and accessible washrooms. Rolling contest sponsored by Canadian Lumber Limited, with chances to win a case of rolling papers and more throughout the weekend.
For info about attending or vending, email chair@mumm.ca. Hope to see you there.
There you go. There you go. Talking about Mom's Harvest Fest. That's going on in July. If you're in the area.
And the network's sponsoring, and Cannabis and Coffee with Marijuana is sponsoring. So, and I know Three Happy Cats is also sponsoring. So they picked up a few more sponsors along the way. And I'm sure Debbie would be more than happy to take some more vendors and sponsors if anybody's out there looking to head to Nova Scotia.
Yeah. CBG TVs is a media sponsor as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are any of us going to be there? Is any of the network hosts?
Not that I know of. No, not that I know of. So maybe, but I haven't got any plans to head to that. Not right now. So, all right. What do you say? What do you say? Time to bring our guest in?
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to hear more about her.
All right. We'd like to welcome someone who is compassionate about medical cannabis. And I know that because I read about it on her LinkedIn profile. She's a patient and is working to help others. We'd like to welcome Natalie Thibodeau to the Pace Radio Show. Welcome, Natalie. How are you tonight?
Thank you. I'm fine. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming on to the broadcast.
You're very welcome. I hope to bring awareness to a lot of people.
Good. Now, I don't know how well I did on your last name. Sometimes I like to
did good. It's Thibodeau.
Thibodeau. All right.
Yeah.
Like Hannah. Hannah Thibodeau from CBC News. Same last name.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, Thibodeau is very French, typical French last name.
Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. So, normally, Natalie, quite often we have patients here on the broadcast, and some of them are patients, and they've gone on to working with companies, but they're still patients. And we'd like to share patient stories, and we'd also like to find out how people got involved in the cannabis end of things. Some of them are just accidental advocates, such as parents who have children who find benefits from cannabis. What's basically, I guess, let's get started on what your story would be as a patient.
Okay. Myself, I'm from New Brunswick, and growing up, I've always suffered from migraines. My mother used to tell me that they weren't candy. She thought I'd want them as candy. And then I would get the really bad headache where I'm vomiting, and then she'd get me a Tylenol or an Advil, but it was too late.
So those was what you were thinking was candy, was the Tylenol.
Yeah. My mom thought I thought they were candy because they have great flavor, bubble gum, right? Because I was very young at the time. She's like, "No, Natalie, this is not candy. You can't have these as candy." And I was like, "No, Mom, my head really hurts." She's like, "No, Natalie, you're okay." And then she'd shoo me off because I'd get headaches often. So she would think that I'd want them as candy. Like I like them as flavor. I want them as a candy,
I remember saying that the same thing. I use that same analogy. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah.
But I get it, because there are kids that really like the flavor and they just want more of it, thinking it's like candy. So it was a fair analogy on her part. So needless to say, I've always been a migraine. I've always had migraines. And for some odd reason, on my mom's side, all of them have migraines, many of them. So I've always had migraines. And then I graduated in New Brunswick here, and I left for Alberta. I went 3 years in Banff, and then I lived 13 years in Calgary, in Alberta. And during my time in Alberta, my father-in-law lived in BC. Alberta's very dry. and in BC, it's very moist. And my father-in-law had 3 steps at his house. And every time I go up the steps or down the steps, I tell my husband, my knees hurt every time I come and visit your dad. I don't understand why. And we used to visit, to top it off, we used to go in Christmas time because I worked in oil and gas. And so we'd have 2 weeks off around the Christmas holidays. So we'd be there anywhere between, you know, the 22nd to the 4th or the 5th of January. But he lived in Agassiz, BC, and it didn't have too much snow. But it was moist compared to Calgary, Alberta, because Alberta is very dry. And the only time I'd ever feel pain in my knees in Alberta was when it was bad weather in Calgary. And Calgary is the city that has the most sun in Canada. So therefore we have fairly good sunny days. So once in a while, my knees would bother me. I never paid any attention to it really until I moved to New Brunswick. And then when I moved to New Brunswick, that's when I started noticing I must have arthritis or something, because my knees were getting more painful, because New Brunswick's like BC. It's very moist. Yeah, but exactly. When I first arrived here, because I worked in oil and gas, the only other place I could work was for Irving in St. John, New Brunswick. But that's 3.5 hours away from me. And my husband and I had agreed that we wouldn't do distance work. So when I got here, I went to see a place to look for work, and they did an assessment on me where they tested my personality versus job work and what kind of jobs so that I would link into. And by doing that, they realized, this is 2018, by the way, they realized that I was raised on 50 acres of land when I grew up in New Brunswick. And so my dad always had a little bit of a farm. And so they realized that there was agriculture in my testing that they did. And this French cultivation cannabis course was being given in Hamilton, and it's 2 hours away from where I am. And so when the test came in, they said, oh, there's going to be this cultivation course, and I think you should take it. It'd be a great opportunity for you to work in cannabis. So during my course, there was some guy who kept calling us toxicomans, and he was French from Quebec. So because we were all weeders, but none of us were legal. So I approached my nurse practitioner and I said, I believe I qualify with my migraines and my arthritis for medical cannabis. And so she sent me to see a doctor that prescribes cannabis. He's a rehabilitation doctor, and with medication for medicine for rehabilitation is the type of doctor I saw. And he medicated me for my migraines and my osteoarthritis. And then, so from then on, I became a medical patient.
Now, were you already consuming cannabis, or was this something you started to do afterwards? Like,
Well,
some
cannabis
people
is
end up,
something,
medicating, with cannabis before they ever get licensed or even realize that, that there has been a benefit through the cannabis.
To be honest, when I was a teenager, I did try cannabis. It was about one of the only drugs I tried. I did try acid, and my dad found out, and he gave me this big spiel, and he harassed me for like a month. And so I promised I would never touch it again. So I never did. So I stuck to cannabis. But once I met my husband, he had an ex-wife, and he had 3 children, and cannabis was not legal at the time. And because I met him in 2003, I didn't want her to find a reason for him not to see the kids, because she already had hundreds of reasons for him to not spend time with them. So anyways, I stopped during that period. And then when they grew up and they were teenagers, they were smoking. So I went back to smoking because they didn't live with me no more. So I have been a smoker for a long time. And before I was medicated, I've always realized that cannabis keeps me a little chill. I'm a person that I'm a little high strung in the sense that my nerves are very edgy. So I used to smoke and feel like, oh, that edge is off. So I've always smoked to take the edge off of my nerves, not realizing at that time, because I never studied so much about cannabis, how good and beneficial it was.
And working in oil and gas, I'm sure that puts you in a position that they drug test, as you know, right? My husband works in oil and gas as well. But he's actually one of the first medical cannabis patients that actually has gotten a job with his paperwork. And they, totally don't like now that it's legal. Like, not that it's so much that it's like this is before, but once it was legal, they don't even care anymore. The insurance
Wow.
companies still want to have clean drug tests, but the companies really don't care.
Well, especially for the fact that especially if they're medical, it's okay. They won't matter as much because there's paperwork behind it.
Right.
But to be honest with you, myself, when I was in Alberta, I didn't tell people I smoked. My neighbors knew, and that was it. I'd go to work. I worked in an office up in the towers in downtown, and they were all dressed up in office work. So I was professional with them. They were professional with me, and I left it that way because it was illegal at the time. So the only time I smoked was after work and at home on my weekends, and it was very close people around me. Yeah. But now that I'm in New Brunswick and it's medical and I know and I understand it, I'm not as hush about it no more. It's important for people to know what this plant does.
Yeah, 100%. Exactly. I work for well service in downtown Calgary too, so in the offices, I did that was what I did too. So yeah.
So now, like you've obviously you started. I'm assuming you started medicating or actually using cannabis recreationally in the beginning before you started using it medicinally.
That's right.
Sometimes, and we throw this question out the odd time, and sometimes we get some funny stories, and sometimes we don't. Sometimes it's a medical end of the story. And do you remember the first time you smoked a joint?
My very first time was not a joint, and it was burning knives with toilet paper roll.
Because you couldn't get marijuana.
It's with my cousin and my sister. We went to my cousin's house. I'm the youngest, by the way, on my dad's side of the family.
Yeah.
And and the grandchildren. So I'm the youngest of the cousins. And this cousin that I went to, she was 4 years older than me, and my sister was 2 years older than me. So they were all smokers. So I took a few tokes with them, burning the back of my throat with that. I hate smoking that way. I won't ever do it again. But that was my first toke. Oh my God. You probably got memory lane. I was 13.
Nice. You're 13. Hey, I was 13 as well. First time I had tokes. Yeah, mine was with hash.
But I remember when I first met my husband in 1986, like he was 6 years older than I was, and he was smoking. All we could get was hash, right? And he'd roll it with tobacco, and I would just and I'd just be, and then I finally got to the point where it's like, well, you can't beat him, you might as well join him, right? So that's how it, But yeah, was it the same? Because when you grew up in New Brunswick, was cannabis were you able to get cannabis, or was it more hash, oil? Because I know when I was growing up, it was more hash and oil. We couldn't get weed per se, flower. It was very rare you'd find any cannabis.
Well, as far as I know, we could sell cannabis and hash. Oil was harder to find. So because out east and out west, I think it was different. But when I left, I was 20, and so I didn't really do a lot of weed here. I've done more in Calgary, and it's kush all the way back that way. I've tried all sorts of kush, and they're freaking awesome.
That's my favorite too. Besides sour diesel, which is a hybrid, which is if you like kush, you like the sour diesel too. It's really nice.
And I do.
E-nails are the more modern day version of hot knives. There's no doubt about that.
Yes, that's true.
There's that meme that goes around Facebook. Are you so old school that you know what this is? And it's got the pictures of the knives and and on the stove. So exactly. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say. So now that you found out that the cannabis was wonderful. I'm sure Alice was just about to ask you the same question. Where did that lead you to? Are you working in cannabis? Do you have your what's going on?
Well, when I saw the doctor, it led me to be able to grow personally for myself. He taught me to do THC for migraines because and smoking because it's immediate. But I do have to do oils, which it's just funny. He had suggested to me to stay away from tinctures under the tongue and that I should put it on my food. So make it like a oil base. I use almond oil. And so I still do it that way, but I've also added tinctures now and it helps me a lot more. And so I've started medicating myself, but it took me a long time to learn all this. So I'll back to Campbellton. When I took my course, he called me the toxicoman. So I became legal. And the only thing the doctor told me was I had to use CBD and THC. I had to smoke for the immediate effect and then take oil for the long-term effect, which I've been doing for a long time. But then I realized I wasn't dosing myself high enough. And during that time, that's when I found a job at TP Growing. And I also just last September, so within the same year, I got diagnosed with fibromyalgia because every year you go to get relicensed. And we were looking at my osteoarthritis because it felt like it was worse. So they did x-rays. So when I went to see him, he says, your x-rays look like your arthritis hasn't increased. And you keep telling me you're really, really tired and the pain's worse in the morning and it could be in one spot one day, it's in another spot another day. He says, I really feel that you have fibromyalgia. So then they made an autoimmune disease test to see if I had any autoimmune diseases, because if I do, then it could eliminate fibro, because there's no test for fibro. You can't really test to say it's fibro. So anyhow, when I found out about that, it led me to read more, and I've learned within the time that I got medicated medically to fibromyalgia, I learned the endocannabinoid system. And then I started reading about all the cannabinoids and all the terpenes and I was trying to find I'm really trying to find the right dose. And so TP Growing started last year. It was their first year of growing, and they needed someone to help them along the way. So I did a little bit of planting, trimming, and then we did like trimming the plants while they were in vegetative stage. And then I ended up trimming when it was time to crop. And then I went to the sales department and I had to sell for them. So TP Growing is on their first year, and now we're going to join a joint venture with a gentleman who actually helped me find the right dosage for my medication. That's when I realized I wasn't dosed enough. I met a guy named Darrell Fay. He's a cannabis health consultant, a master in cannabis and apprentice ganger. We connected about a year ago, and we connected in joint venture with TP Growing in order to sell his tinctures and his salves. And during the time that we were keeping in connection in order to do this joint venture, we started talking, Darrell and myself, and he found out that I had fibromyalgia, and he sent me his product to try. And the first time I tried it, and now I purchased it because it's really worth it. He had put me on a doses of THC in the morning. His is tincture, it's under the tongue. And then I do a 50-50 at about lunchtime. And at night I do a CBG, and they're all 1 ml. But dosing is different for everybody. And because I've been cannabis for a long time, I can handle 1 ml. Some people handle half a ml, depending, right?
Yeah. Now, what's out of curiosity, what's the name of his company?
The name of his company is Zero High Cannabis Solution Organic. Ooh, I don't know if you'll see it.
How's that? Can you see it on the screen? Look on the screen.
Oh, yes, that's it. Yep.
Okay.
No, that's not it.
Isn't it? Tell us it's Zero High.
No,
No.
Zero High Cannabis Solution.
Let me see. I don't know.
Well,
it just says CBD.
That don't look like his bottle. I'm sorry.
Not right. Okay, I got the wrong one then. I'll just take that off the screen.
So
Okay, yeah. It's hard to tell when you get lining up your products.
yeah, it's
I
very
know.
yeah.
And then
It
everything's backwards. You go, okay,
it
it's got to go to
I
the
see
right.
that.
And you-
I just realized that it's complicated. Uh,
uh,
yes, so now we plan on selling these products at the end of fall
yeah,
once our
good.
crop is done. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, so these obviously must come in different dosage levels and quantities.
Yes, that's right. We don't have all that sorted out yet, but it will be within this next few months here. We'll have the chart of what we're actually going to. But there's usually 30 ml bottles for sure that are on sale that they sell, and I know that they have these bombs here that I don't know the size of them though. They're not very big. They're about
And this is
Hi.
through the legacy industry, or this is through the legal industry?
no, this is legal, yeah.
So the legal industry is bringing in salves for health products for a recreational market.
Yeah.
You can in New
Yeah.
Brunswick. The salves are you can buy them in the cannabis store.
But that's not medical stores. They're not medical stores.
I know. It's like facial scrubs too. They have facial scrubs, and they have all these CBD products.
Here's the thing, and no disrespect, like I totally respect what you're doing, and I'm grateful that they can, but it's a recreational market, and all these are health and beauty products. So
and
open a medical dispensary. They don't want to allow patients to have the milligrams that we actually need in the legal market, but they're putting it on the shelves.
Yeah.
I'm confused.
I don't know what to tell you. It's Canada Health Canada is policy. I work where I live in New Brunswick.
They need to figure out their policy.
Yeah. Nothing to do with you, Natalie. I know where Tamara's coming from, because I completely agree with her.
Because we have friends that are getting busted and raided because they want to help medical patients, and the legal market won't let them. They keep sending the CSVU into them. They surround them with police in Vancouver on weekend. And then
are you sitting on your C12? I live in New Brunswick. Our main stores are Cannabis NB. Cannabis New Brunswick. Owned federally by the provincial government. Owned provincially. Okay. And they sell salves, they sell tinctures, they sell joints, they sell the seeds. Sorry, I don't have a seed here.
Yeah, I know they do.
It's on the shelf.
Like, they don't want to. Here's the thing: I took this, like, the sell it right, serve it right, everything, and they distinguish medical and recreational because they don't want the bud tenders in those stores talking about medical advice or giving medical advice, because they're not medical doctors or medical of any kind. So we have to figure out how we're going to get around all this stupid bureaucratic red tape so that
it's all over though. It is difficult.
Like, all those products are available. It's because the government promotes them as recreational stores, but surveys show that half the people who go into the stores are going in for medical use, just like yourself, right? When you go into the store to grab something, and it's the way that the government's made it out to be. Like, there's a store near me. There's a store near me that has a wellness section. And I go, wellness section? What do you mean you got a wellness section, right? But
that are getting busted because they're trying to keep patients in the milligram dosing that they actually need. Like, some people need 1,000 milligrams edibles. Like, hands down, we know people that take hundreds of milligrams a day. And with them keeping within that 10 milligram limit, that's not what patients need. Even with
they need their own regulations, that's for sure. But just so you know, it's break time. Already gone through that first half hour. We're going to run another mum promo here on Harvest Fest. A little bit different, close but different. And then we'll jump in the commercial break, and we'll see everybody afterwards. And we'll continue our discussion with our guest, Natalie Thibodeau, afterwards. And this is the Pace Radio Show We're live here at paceradio.net and cbgtv.com.
Is 420 camping your thing? Do you like cannabis cups? Want to learn more about cannabis? Enjoy music festivals? Living on the East Coast or looking for a really good reason to visit? Then Harvest Fest is calling your name.
Join us the weekend of July 14th to 16th at Fox Mountain Camping Park in the Annapolis Valley, Nova Scotia, to meet like-minded people, have your cannabis questions answered, listen to great bands, and have a blast.
Service lots available and camping is included in festival admission. $60 for the weekend or $30 for Friday and $40 for Saturday. Food trucks, hot showers, flush toilets, and accessible washrooms. Rolling contest sponsored by Canadian Lumber Limited with chances to win a case of rolling papers and more throughout the weekend.
For info about attending or vending, email chair@mumm.ca. Hope to see you there.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net. Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
Are you a cannabis content creator? Are you looking for a place to have your content seen? If you answer yes to both questions, then you need to check out cbgtv.com. CBGTV broadcasting to a worldwide audience. Find us at cbgtv.com.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more. We've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
PACE Radio is the People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network.
Did you know that the Pace Radio Network isn't just a radio network? That's right, because most, but not all of our programming is now done via video and is then podcasted at paceradio.net. So if you want to watch our programming, you'll find us on the Pace Radio Network's Facebook page, plus the show's own page, and you'll find us live on the network's YouTube channel. And don't forget, you can find it all, video and audio, at paceradio.net.
Legacy 420 have an awesome array of cannabis-infused beverages, from pop to Nature's Nectar's teas, all in amazing flavors. What a selection! We even have a delicious mango-infused juice, and let me tell you, it's delicious.
Everything is infused in-house, so we buy our syrup from the same place where everybody else buys their syrup for their pop, and the infusion is done in the lab. It's all canned here, labeled here, produced 100% on Tyndonega.
We have two lines of drinks. One's called our Nature's Nectar. That was our original line that we came out with. And then we also have a line under the Red E brand. We have them in 10 milligrams, 30 milligram, and 60 milligram cans.
What a great selection for a get-together with friends or after a long day. Remember, if you want to wet your whistle with on-site lab-tested products, come see your trusted partner. Legacy 420 out on your road.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net. Hey, welcome back. Tonight on the program, we're joined by our guest, Natalie Thibodeau, patient as well as a sales rep for TP Growing. Well, ladies, we covered a lot of ground in that first segment.
Right.
But we got, Natalie's flipping her phone there.
Sorry.
Oh, no
Yep,
problem. No problem. All right.
I don't know what
Now,
happened.
I don't know. You all of a sudden you started going a little fuzzy, as if you were turning your phone, getting it into possession or something. I don't know.
So, as a sales rep, are you like you go out to the stores that distribute and show for the product that the company that you're working for? Is that how that works, or do you just phone people? Or?
As a licensed producer, when you're a licensed producer, you can only sell to licensed producers.
Right.
Yeah, because
Right.
TP Growing only has its cultivation license, right? So you're only allowed to grow product. You're not allowed to produce anything.
There's works going on with TP Growing that will be able to transform as well.
Okay, so
But
that,
at the moment,
it's an ongoing process. Okay, yep.
That's right. As all LPs do, they have to grow. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there's a process that's happening right now for the transformation.
Good.
Yeah.
Now, so are they growing? Are they an outdoor grower, indoor grower? I don't know.
They are. TP Growing is an outdoor growing company. They grow outdoor, and they put as little as possible on their plants, and most of what they put on is organic.
Good.
They're not organic certified. There's a lot of steps to that, but they, as much as possible, they go certified. They treat it as if it was organic as much as possible, even though it's not.
That's their
certified.
goal, or trying to run along that line for sure. But
for sure, in the long run, that we plan to be organic. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's good.
So then you can. So you have to sell to another LP. These are different. Every province is different. Like micro here can sell directly to stores now in British Columbia, right? They don't have to sell to the LBD anymore, right? In British Columbia. So in New Brunswick, I'm sure the laws are different in the steps. So what are the steps?
So yes, they are slightly different because in order now in New Brunswick to be able to sell in stores, because Cannabis NB is the first store that came out, which is provincial owned, you can only own a store affiliated via Cannabis NB. And once you're able to sell your products through Cannabis NB, then you're able to have a farm store on your location.
For farm gain, okay.
And then you can sell your products on your location.
Oh.
But you have to go through the province to get it.
Yeah. We have that in here in Ontario as well. We have farm gate where the producers can have a store and sell their product right at one of their factories or whatever you want to call it, one of their locations.
Have that here yet?
What's that?
I don't think BC has that yet.
No, not yet, eh? Yeah.
I know that the micro crafters can sell directly to the stores, but I don't think the big licensed producers can. I'd have to double check that, to be fair.
Yeah.
But BC's got different act too, right?
Yeah, but your stores in BC, am I correct by saying you have some that are provincially owned and then some that are privately owned? So here in New Brunswick, to be private, it's way more complicated through the fact that you almost have to be, if you're a licensed producer, you have to go through Cannabis NB. And I don't know, I still don't know if it could be possible that there is. I don't know enough about it, but I don't know that you can just go privately to a cannabis store now here in New Brunswick.
They've just started issuing some private stores in the province. Unlike here in Ontario, where we have like 1,700 privately owned
private stores too, but they still have to buy from the LBD. They still have to go through all the same steps.
Right, and like the most profitable business in Ontario when it comes to cannabis is the cannabis end of things. The AGCO, where they do all the distribution for the cannabis for the stores, the OCS, where they do all the distribution, because they sell it all to the individual stores. So the OCS is the biggest company. They made millions of dollars. Well, our little stores have suffered. People are closing.
Well, that and the growers aren't getting paid either, and that's a problem to the big producers. Even the small crafters were not getting paid. by the government, because it was all going to, the money was going to the LCD, LVDs and all the OCDs and stuff, the distribution, and none of the farmers were getting it.
And so each province is run differently.
Yeah.
And so it is a bit of a, I'm sure it's.
But none of it is easy. And on top of it not being easy, it's, I don't know, it's not well managed.
Would we really want the same model all country? Is there the best model? Would everybody ever be happy? I don't know
if anybody would be happy, because we all want different things, right?
Yeah.
True, but there should be a lot more there should be, like right now, as they're talking about all the laws and stuff, they should have had a questionnaire going to everybody who is already in cannabis, wanting to put their voice in to see, so they could see what's the needs and what's not the needs, or what's the needs and wants.
They're in the process of doing a Cannabis Act review.
Yeah.
And they were supposed to do. There's an article out in StratCan that came out today, and I've only read like basically the headline on it, and it had to do with patients who were advocating the government on the fact that they promised a review on the medical aspect of things, and now that has been privately or quietly, canceled. The review of the medical end of it. Whereas they're doing the review on the whole thing.
Yeah. And that's where I was going to try to get with you guys, is that's what I've noticed since I've been a medical patient. It's fend for yourself. And it's been for the recreational all the way.
To be fair, the medical program has always been fend for yourself. That's why we are still fighting for dignified access, because we don't have dignified access. We have access, yes, we do. It's dignified, not when it's 10 milligrams, not when you're going to get diabetes before you're going to get better. Like, there's just so many things that could be changing. But again, legalization has opened the door for people to get access, which I'm not sad about. But there's no fine
more
line.
People are,
right?
More people are apt to walk into a store and grab something cannabis related, whether it's a topical or whatever, because they go into a store versus before people, maybe people who were concerned about it because the legalities of it, and the fact that they didn't know where to even turn to. I dealt with a lot of people who didn't even know where to start from. They're just, they knew about me through newspapers ads or articles to the newspapers or whatever through my advocacy. But I'd ask them, what do you want? What route do you want to go? Do you want to go to the compassion centers, or do you want to go the legal route? And most of the people I asked, they wanted to go the legal route, but there was people who wanted to go to the compassion centers because that gave them access to somebody who had experience and could talk to about it. Just like people who could go to the VCBC and be able to talk to people about it at that end of things.
Patients, right?
Yeah. Whereas, the doctor didn't know. Like, when I talked to my doctor about it, he actually agreed with the benefits, but he wanted to try all the regular medications before he agreed to sign my paperwork, and it's been fine for the last 15 years. So
I think we've all been through that. Most of the patients you talk to will tell you that they had to go through and I'm sure you did too. You're trying to get but you were in Alberta. I was in Alberta. Trust me, I had to fly to Ontario because my Alberta doctor would not sign my medical cannabis patient paperwork the first time. My doctor in Hannah, Alberta, signed my medical cannabis paperwork for me, but he wouldn't sign for anybody else. So being the doctors being the gateway too, and that's where we're at too, with the doctors being the gateway. And now that Health Canada is brushing us off, like they haven't even recognized cannabis as medicine.
They legalized it for recreational purposes because they haven't given us any more help since it has been legalized.
None.
No.
None.
I gotta say, there's one thing that I did like in the legalization for the medical end of things, and that was that our storage amounts were eliminated, and everybody got the same as recreational, which is unlimited storage. I like that part. No,
Very
there's
medical,
lots
though.
of things that suck. Believe me, I agree. So
We still can only carry 150 grams as medical patients.
correct. Yeah.
And they
Well, up to 150 grams. Don't forget, if you've only got a license for 3 grams, you're only allowed to carry 90.
Right, exactly. And medical, and if you're recreational, you can only carry 30 at a time, right? So again, that's the difference in that too, right? Like, and then where you get your seeds from, you're supposed to be buying your seeds from a licensed producer. So if you get seeds from a friend, is that legal? Like, and we're patients. We all have swapped. And I did 6 months house arrest for sending 4 grams in the mail to another patient back in 2012. So that's how the legalities are just ridiculous. And because we weren't prior to legalization, which is another thing, you can share 30 grams now. Prior to legalization, we couldn't. Why? I did 6 months house arrest because patient to patient wasn't legal either.
No.
Well,
I know a few patients that were medically cannabis prior to it being legal in Canada, and they were not even allowed to share it.
No, that's me. That's why
patient to patient was a no-no. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So we've come a long way. I'm not saying that legalization hasn't moved us forward to a point, but there's so many gaps. And I think that's it. It's not like we're not moving forward. We are. The industry's, evolving as well because, like I said, in BC now the micros can sell directly to the stores, right? And I'm sure it has to have some paperwork that goes to the government. I'm not sure exactly what the steps are that they can, but they go about doing this. I just know they can. But again, like we need to see more, like it's moving forward, but the gaps. And that's for people that use for cannabis purposes. And either we need the government to say, we need to educate people on the benefits of cannabis or something, or, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure what the line or solution is, but
they basically outlaw that, the education part of things. They just don't, it's, like some of it's just so wrong. Like, people talk about the fact that maybe this drug, like I'm on an intravenous drug for my my Crohn's disease, and I have to go in for treatment every 2 months and sit there in a chair, and they plug me into an IV, and they're worried about cannabis. It just doesn't make sense. So.
Nope. A lot of it doesn't make sense. And my understanding that this reviewing of law, they're really not more interested in helping in the medical area. They're looking into the recreational.
They'd rather get rid of the medical cannabis program altogether.
Question 5.2 in the Cannabis Act review that was sent out to everybody asked if basically the question come down to, is having the stores sufficient enough to replace the medical program?
And it's not,
because the medical program came in with because of the access issue. Now, when you have like 3,000 or 4,000 stores spread across the country, and being online deliveries and all that, I don't know if the other stores do the online deliveries, do they?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, and they deliver it.
And does that eliminate that concern? Satisfies the court from that decision, but the others will turn around and say, well, no, that doesn't eliminate the Parker decision because this other court decision talks about this and this and this.
Well, even the Howell decision, the last one in Alberta.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There are so many. Then never mind the last one that. Pat Warnick.
But they are asking those type of questions. Are the stores sufficient?
They eliminate the medical cannabis program. Sure, we have access. We can go to a recreational store, but we can't ask any questions.
No.
And we can't grow any more than 4 plants. And like I've said before, they're ripping off the rec patients people as it is because 1 gram medically is 5 plants. So legally, they're telling everybody in Canada, oh, you can't even grow 1 gram because 1 gram medically is 5 plants. Right? We discussed this before.
We do. We have
4 plants. So what about those people that need our 50 plants? Like I've got a 15 gram a day prescription. I can grow 100 plants. Like what am I supposed to do? What's Ford going to do for me? I can't make my own tinctures and my own oils and my own stuff.
Yeah.
No. Absolutely not.
Yep.
I agree. When I first got medical, go ahead. Sorry.
No. You go ahead.
When I first got medically medicated for cannabis in 2018, they told me I had to go to licensed producer in order to get what I wanted. But I went to Cannabis NB with my prescription, and they refused to sell me anything.
Yeah.
So it's recreational, but if people are medical, you can't tell them you're medical and you're going there. They won't sell to you.
Correct. Exactly.
Yeah. They'll tell you,
but they're getting all the products from the licensed producers.
Yeah.
I'm medical. I need it. I can't go on this. If you know I'm medical, you won't let me buy it in the store. Where's the logic in this?
Go in there. You can't tell them you're medical or ask any medical questions. Just go in there and buy your question.
And actually, when
2018, what did I know? What did I know?
We were at we were covering the Left Expo for CBG TV. We were on location with them, and at the main stage they had the bud tenders all in chairs sitting there, and they had a discussion panel up on there, and they're asking them, going over different scenarios. People come in and ask a medical question. What do you say? And the bud tenders would get up and they would explain this big long thing, and then everybody give applause, and it was all about avoiding medical terms and talking about the medical use. It was more about educating them to talk about their own experiences. I've tried this orange sherbet gummy here, and I'll tell you, boy, was it ever good. I got really buzzed on it.
But being buzzed is not what some people are looking for. And that's
what some people are looking for, exactly. But as far as the medical end,
well, the recreational end, that's exactly. Oh, you got a good buzz, right on, dude. Okay, let's go get high.
Exactly, yeah.
That's exactly what they think, though.
Or they could turn around. Yeah, it had to make it really, really vague. So okay, go ahead, Natalie.
It's because they don't really know more than, if it gets a good buzz, that I'm happy. But most people that go recreational, whether or not underlying, they are smoking because it makes them feel less pain, less this or less anxiety. There's a reason. They're all underlying reasons. They're just not medically. They're not just medically medicated.
Yeah.
It's the reality of it. So at the end of the day, when it comes to medical, you got the short end of the stick, and it's really horrible because it should have been priority for us.
Did we really start medicating when we were all 13? Because we all have a bit of a let's say energy, a bit of a hyper and attention and go type.
Plus all your hormones. You're going through you're going through a lot of changes.
I just call it attention deficit from hell. That's how I call it, because it's attention deficit from hell.
Attention deficit from hell, yeah. Well, you also call it squirrel brain too.
Even medicated some days are tired. In fact, some days are harder medicated. I don't.
Yeah. It's
when you're working in mainstream, the mainstream world, I can't sit and medicate like this all day, right? I'm working in a retail environment. Like I can't sneak out back every, half an hour or hour and medicate. Where when I'm home, I can. So I unfortunately I'm not taking a bunch of pain pills, because the methotrexate keeps me balanced. So if I'm not in a flare, I don't take a bunch of pain pills, opioids and that kind of stuff, but I'm still having to take pharmaceuticals no matter what.
Well, so far for me, I'm lucky I can go away from them, and Percocets do not do me well at all. They say they told me I had an intolerance. I just remember being in a hospital bed, just being reclined in the bed, and I swear all of a sudden I was like this in my bed, and I looked at myself and I'm like, I'm straight. But I felt leaning like this. So I looked up in front of me. There was an opening. Nurse went by and I'm like, everything else is straight. Why am I leaning? But I'm straight. And then my heart started racing and I started getting this sweats. So I look back up and I see another nurse go by. I'm like, excuse me. She goes, yes. I said, I don't know what's going on. I'm sitting straight. I'm not feeling like I'm straight. My heart's pounding and I'm about to throw up. So that's what I said to her, because all of a sudden I felt nauseous. I didn't feel it until I said that to her. She goes and she checks my blood pressure, walks out, comes back in. She goes, "Here, put that under your tongue." I thought, holy jeez, what's happening to me? Am I having a heart attack? Panic mode hits me. I don't know what's going on. The only thing I know, you put under the tongue, it's fast and it's got to go fast. It's if you're having a heart attack. So I start panicking. I said, "What did you just give me? Why you want to give me this? And what's it for?" She goes, "Oh, it'll just stop the nausea." I said, "Oh, okay." So she gave me that and I felt better. They sent me home with them. I had episodes going on and on, sweats, heart racing, vomiting, calm down, everything's great. Heat flashes, sweats, vomiting. It started at 3 a.m. till 6. At 6 a.m, I thought, okay, I should just go to the hospital now because I don't know what to do anymore. And the next day I called the hospital and I told them what happened, and they go, "Oh, ma'am, you have an intolerance. You can't take them anymore." So and then an opioid, when I've had operations, they used to give Dilaudid or something like that.
Dilaudid?
Or Demerol.
Yeah. Demerol or anyways, it's a pain.
Yeah,
but it's an opioid if I'm not mistaken. And I really like those. So I probably would have gotten addicted to an opioid rather than, because I couldn't take Percocet. And now because of my
opioid too, but it's got an acetaminophen base to it, right? So maybe, but hydromorphine, which is Dilaudid, which is an opioid too, which I've gotten a prescription for that too. But I don't take it unless I absolutely need it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. I have anti-inflammatories and I only take them when I absolutely need them because they constipate me.
Oh yeah.
With fibro, a lot of people suffer with fibro. A lot of people suffer with irritable bowel syndrome. Yeah. I didn't know this. I learned with fibro that irritable bowel syndrome could be of two things: the diarrhea that most people talk about, but you could also have the constipated version, and that's where I tend to be. So I can't take my anti-inflammation unless I'm in pain, because I gotta deal with constipation after, which is another pain in its own.
Yeah.
So So pharmaceutical drugs don't help me. They just give me problems.
Yeah.
Yeah. Understand. Totally understand. 100%. Well, that's good that being a patient though too, working with a legal company. Do they ask you about what patients need when you're working with them, or are you not allowed to speak about your experience with cannabis and medical?
Well, I've talked to them. They know that I have a fibromyalgia. They because of all LC producers, they're all looking for high THC is basically all they concentrate on. And I'm trying to make them understand that CBC is important, and CBD and other ones, CBC even, or so we're working on trying to get that those cannabinoids out as well, if possible. So that might come in the long run. But yeah, there's it depends on how close you are with your group of people that you work with. I guess sometimes you can share certain things, but I would have to think there's still a line of professionalism in the industry anyways, right? So right now we're tiny because we just started. If we were 400 employees, I don't know if everybody would be talking about who's medicated and who's not and what they do. You know what I mean? Depending on how big you are as well.
I understand that. I just was wondering what their stance kind of was. I mean, they're in the business for recreational. They're not asking what patients need. So that was just my question, if they'd ever.
Yeah, I think Health Canada lost a great opportunity to ask for volunteer patients to use them as studies, to take in the information.
I would love to be one of them.
There's lots of people I'm sure that would love to have done that, but they never did that. The program's over 20 years old now. Yeah. And that's a lot of data, a lot of information,
and a lot of dead patients, a lot of dead people.
Oh, I know it's getting nasty.
So am I understanding that they have a program and they've done what? They've done studies, or they have not done studies?
Well, they're not taking in any information. It's too bad that they didn't have a program to do that.
Never.
So people, whether it's them or whether it's other companies, want to review that data. They don't need to know names, but just review the data in order to create a study out of it, right?
So lab testing, we were hoping that they would actually like do patient set of studies and do patient research, and the licensed producers would be interested, especially the small ones like Broken Coast when they first got in it, and Tilray, because the Tilray swore they were going to stay, medical specifically. And these lab testings, we find out they're only looking for CBGs and THC.
Yeah, just the THC is the big guy.
Right?
But just so you know, it's time for us to take a commercial break.
It's like,
yeah.
Agreed.
All right, break time. Off we go. All righty. I pay the bills. When we return, Tamara and I will continue our discussion with our guest, Natalie Thibodeau. You're watching or listening to the Pace Radio Show here at paceradio.net and cbgtv.com. You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
When you have a pain that's reached its peak, Legacy for 20, it's so unique. If organic cannabis is what you seek, here's your trusted partners 7 days a week. Suppository salves, vapes and drops, topicals, edibles, infused pop. Just when life seems like it ain't easy, at Legacy 420, enjoy a pop freezy. Lab tested products, make them the GOAT. Legacy 420 out on your road. Legacy 420 in Tyndonega Mohawk territory. Indigenous organic cannabis at its finest.
Let's share Pace everywhere. That way it can help create peace. People everywhere advocating cannabis education. Did you know that the Pace Radio Network isn't just a radio network? That's right, because most, but not all of our programming is now done via video and is then podcasted at paceradio.net. So if you want to watch our programming, you'll find us on the Pace Radio Network's Facebook page, plus the show's own page, and you'll find us live on the network's YouTube channel. And don't forget, you can find it all, video and audio, at paceradio.net.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Pace Radio is the people advocating cannabis education radio network.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420. We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net. Hey, we're back. Tonight on the program, we're joined by our guest, Natalie Thibodeau. She's a patient and a sales rep for TP Growing. And I've got I've got two questions. One sort of personal. One is business related, I guess it's called, if I can remember what it is again now. But it was something I didn't want to forget, and that was earlier in the show tonight, Tamara. You and I asked a question to Anthony Foster, who's watching the broadcast, about what was going on. He said the canna crawl at the end of the month. Just so you know, I should update everybody on that. That is on Saturday, July the 29th. And the location is to be announced at the Hamilton Vape family on Instagram for more information. So just to update everybody on that.
Yeah, terrific.
So, okay. Now the first question, Natalie, the sort of the personal thing. Did you seen the promos of the Mum Harvest Fest there? You ever been or got any interest? You're down on the East Coast.
I've never been, and I hadn't heard of it, but Nova Scotia's not too far. But I don't know if I'll have the time to go. It seems like the time that's listed there is I'll be too busy, unfortunately. But to go, it'd be lovely.
Yes,
but, it'd be nice to post it around. I'm sure some people in New Brunswick would love to go.
Oh, I'm sure there would. I'm sure there would. And
the
other question. What was that?
When's the First Nation Cup? When's that one?
The Indigenous Cannabis Cup.
Cannabis Cup.
Yeah, July the 21st to the 23rd.
Yeah, so there's that one coming up too, which is in Ontario, right? Yeah. And then so that's another one that's coming up shortly too.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
I just kind of quickly mention that our res here had a store called Two Nugs on it. And the RCMP went and raided them the other night, and they're now shut down.
Oh, on the res. Jeez. And has RCMP raided them?
Apparently.
Wow.
Apparently they didn't have from the band. And the band, I don't know any details. I just know that they're closed.
Okay. And I remember the other question, Natalie, and it wasn't business. It was a personal question, but a personal question to help educate others. And that's what we like about when we share patient stories. We can help educate others. Now you're dealing with your migraines and you're dealing with your osteoporosis. What would you say would be your daily routine in order to give some people maybe some guidance? Like, you're not a doctor or anything like that, but people can learn or benefit from knowing what somebody else is doing, and then they can adjust from there. This gives them an idea.
Exactly. I understand what you're saying. It does depend on how long they've been smoking. Like for me, I did recreational for years, and so I wake up. For a long time, I used to smoke, especially in Alberta. I used to smoke a full three different hits on one full joint. So I would light it to have a few puffs, put it out, because I had quit, right? I had quit for the ex-wife, not to take the kids away. So therefore, when I started up again, I could do. But now I wake up and I smoke 2 full joints, and then I feel, okay, now I could move, because my mornings are the worst. Fibromyalgia, if I lack too much sleep, then when I wake up in the morning, I'm in more pain. And sometimes it's pain that I just can't get out of, so I can't do my day. So I have to smoke 2 to see how I'm going to function. I used to wake up and be ready in an hour. Now I wake up, it takes me an hour to see if I'm going anywhere. Mm-hmm. So, and then I start to THC under my tongue in the morning. And then when I eat my breakfast, because I don't eat when I wake up, I don't know if it's something to do with fibro. I think it's something that I've always had. I have a hard time. It's like my stomach doesn't wake up at the same time as me. I wake up and then my stomach wakes up a little later. So when I eat breakfast, I put my own oil on my food. It's another meal. For dessert, I take a 50-50 shot under my tongue of tincture again. And then supper time or after, just before bed, depending. Sometimes I forget. I'll take my CBC. So sometimes I try to take them like a dessert. And then I take 1 ml of CBC between supper and nighttime. That's what I usually
Right.
do.
Yeah.
And then when I go, like right now, I'm not fully working, but if I'm working full time, I have to up my THC, my 50/50, and my CBC, because
And
with my
that's
fibro, there's more stress when I work. So then I have more symptoms. So then I have to dose more to keep the symptoms at bay or at a minimal, because sometimes they're hard to keep at bay. And there's
yes.
other days I don't feel nothing. Then I want to do all sorts of stuff because I can do it. But
I
if you
feel
do,
good.
and then if you do too much, it hurts again.
Oh, I know. I feel that.
Yes, exactly.
Totally.
Yeah, when you do too much,
Yeah.
uh, pain. Yes, I
When I did
completely.
all the blood work, like with the mine, it showed the inflammation markers in my blood work, right? So that's, you know, whatever. But yeah, I understand that. I think we all live with a bit of chronic pain too, right? It's just
Yeah.
we're dealing with people with medical need. Like we
Mm-hmm.
hear, the same over and over again, and how well beneficial cannabis does for people, and that's exactly what it should
Yeah.
be known for, being beneficial, therapeutic, yeah,
Yeah.
medicine.
Yeah.
It, like I know some licensed producers in the past have sort of had like an advocacy group or something that went around and helped with the educational end of things. Do they still do that? Like this, the people, like, I'm just sort of like, is that something that you would be interested in doing? Would that be something that TP Growing would you know
I misunderstood the question. Can you
like,
say
as
that
far
again?
as you yourself, whether, like you say, like as a sales rep, but is there anything to do with any type of educational end to do with TP Growing when it comes to cannabis, or is it just the growing business is what it is and that's it?
At the moment, it's just a growing business because we're just running off our feet. It's been our first
Right.
year with last season. So,
Yeah.
but I really think that it's important to have education. And like I said, I feel that we need to have more terpenes and more cannabinoids being used in the products. So I will
Yeah.
definitely push for it, especially that I'm medical. I will push for anything that I feel that would be best for us. But I can't speak on behalf of my boss. So I
No, no. But
appreciate the question.
what you could say is, earlier you mentioned that you smoke 2 joints in the morning. Isn't
Yes.
there a song about that? 2 joints in the morning.
Probably is.
I don't
Probably.
know it, but there
Now,
probably is one.
and this is more information for those out there, and that is, do you have your favorite strains or cultivars of cannabis that you prefer to smoke medically?
Well, I don't particularly look for the names of the strands per se. I
Mm-hmm.
look more for how much what what kind of terpenes are in there. Like
Mm-hmm.
myrcene is one for me that's important, and the I forget the name.
Yeah, there's
Beta
one
beta
BE.
carboline or something like that, and the limonene is good for me as well. So I look for
Names.
those. I find that the CBC has helped me a lot in the sense that you I don't know how to get the CBC because I don't know how to crop it myself. So, but
Yeah,
I
it's
do. I
very
have a source of being able to obtain it, and
good.
CBC is a cannabinoid that's known to help your neurological your neurons in your brain. And
Nice.
for me, with my fibro, it has affected my central nervous system,
Mm-hmm.
and so and my gut brain axis, because they're all in the same location, which I think that's why I have
Yeah.
constipation.
Yeah.
And so CBC helps on your neurons. So I really think it's going to start helping where I've been affected in my brain, my
Mhm.
central nervous system in the brain, and in the it's also in your column spine. So I think it'll help a lot more. I haven't taken it long enough. I see a difference. So I
Yeah. Well,
can't say how much it'll do a difference, but I can tell a difference so far.
yeah.
I'm less
See,
foggy brain.
that's one example. Like where legalization has been benefited, on the medical end, and that is like you say, CBC. That's not something you find in plants, like as far as in cannabis plants, in large quantities.
Good
Whereas
question.
in the producer end of things, people can make them, out of fermented yeast. They can make target certain cannabinoids just by doing things that way.
Yeah.
And you can get these higher products like what you're talking about in order to be able to help. So, okay, what we got? We got 15 minutes left. Good stuff. All right,
That's really interesting. So you, I've got another friend that actually works as a licensed producer in Montreal, and she's been working there for about a year. And she really enjoys it, but again, nobody's interested in talking about the medical aspect. They're there to do their jobs and they're professional, and that's the things too, right? And I think that as patients, I think it's really disheartening. But like again, I just don't want to get stuck in another rut where we have to go back to court and fight for plants.
Yeah,
Because
and is the fight still there? Is the fight still there? Like we went to the Global Marijuana March for there used to be 25,000 people. This year we're lucky to have 25 or 50 people on the march.
Really?
And that's not worrying about thousands. What's that?
And then Vancouver, they blocked him off.
Yeah, there was
July 1st and cops everywhere.
No, that was the Cannabis Day event. Yeah.
That's what I say. Since 2018, it's been legal for recreation, medical.
Yeah.
And enjoy the
really, it's been
the hard process.
It's been legal for medical for 22, 23 years now.
Yep.
It's been legal medically.
I've had a license.
When people start talking about smoking their first legal joints, I'm thinking, yeah, I did that 20 years ago.
I got my first license in 2012. Yeah, you were about the same. What, 2009, Al? Or
I got mine back in 2006, 7. Because I was writing for Treating Yourself by then, and I started writing and Treating Yourself in the spring of 2007.
Yeah, I didn't get my license till 2012. I started activism in 2007, but I didn't actually get my medical license.
Tell you, though, when you're licensed, I did. I felt so much better talking to people.
Oh, me too.
About the cannabis end, because so many people were against cannabis.
In Alberta, right? I had to fly out to Coat Hill, Ontario, drive to Dr. Camerman. That's what it's in Alberta.
Nice.
But at least we're here. But again, we have I don't know. Like I said, it's good that we've got people that are working towards, getting us forward. But yeah.
Okay, let's see. We got a few more minutes still. I'm just trying to think. Is there anything else? Is there anything that we're missing? Like, I know Tamara asked what, because she asked the question about you being a sales rep and what you sold, and then she went into the story about all the stores and recreational and so on and so forth. So I don't know whether we actually found out what that job and what your sort of responsibilities were as a sales rep. Like, where you're trying to sell just basically wholesaling cannabis to people, processors who would be making products to sell, or selling to large producers who were running short on cannabis, so that you guys were there as to help build up stock. Anything along that line? I'm just sort of.
So TP Growing is their licensed cultivation producer. So what we did in our first year, we cultivated all our flowers and we dried them. So we were selling dry flower. So I called a bunch of LPs over a span of almost 9 or 10 months now, in order to be able to sell our flowers.
Nice. Okay,
so
good.
You can't get past that until you get your transformation license. Then you can transform. Then once you get your transformation license, then you have to get your selling license. Once you've got your selling license, then you got to get your, depending where you're distributing it. It's a very tremendous work. None of it is easy. There is no There's no straight line in cannabis. You have to zigzag, 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 and hope you don't get hit along the way, because taxes are crazy. LPs are not interested in buying from other LPs. There's a certain time, in my opinion, there's a certain phase of time when it is needed, and then it doesn't really be needed. And the big guys take care of themselves. The small guys have to really work hard. There's nothing that's easy in cannabis. There's no other way to put it. The laws aren't easy. Working in it isn't
Well,
easy. The
yeah.
process isn't easy. The taxes are killing us. The laws are getting to us. It's atrocious to be in it.
It
But
shouldn't be this hard. It shouldn't have. It shouldn't be this hard. It really
shouldn't.
shouldn't be this hard. It should be like one license once a year. Hasta la vista. Do what you gotta do.
Maybe
It'll be
they.
price. Like, come on. Treat it like it is. Like, it's not a CDSA.
Yeah, and I hear a lot for fighting for the change when it comes to the taxes and regulations and stuff like that. But throughout the years, anytime that Health Canada was forced by the courts to do anything, it was always
the bare
tiny, incremental little steps. That was it. There was never anything that was huge and earth shattering. It just barely met what was required by the law. So I unfortunately I don't see them moving quick, and we've seen businesses from the retail end to the large companies that have gone under or been bought up. And like you say, it's just zigzag, zigzag. Gotta do this, gotta do that. People now they have to build their own building and get it all basically up and functioning before they even know whether they're going to get a license.
Yep. Absolutely true.
Just bring people along and keep taxing them, right?
Technically, TP Growing should have been growing a year prior to that, but they gave them their license just at the end of the season.
Well, if you're outdoor growing, you can't grow in the snow.
I know of some
That's
people
right.
who tried.
And they got their license in I think it was October or something.
Yep.
So
I know.
So they lost a whole year. In other words, they lost a whole year that they could have sold, but they couldn't because they didn't get the license on time for the production year.
Yeah, and I know there were some compassion clubs that tried to get their licenses, and I know held up for security reasons or whatever, and just eventually give up or be bought out or just keep doing what they were doing. Because of it took so long, the process was unreal.
Yeah,
it's true, very true. It's a very hard process all the way around. But I hope in the medical area where we actually eventually we win somehow, because it's like you said, incremental, small steps, and there's people that need it now. Like Dr. Anderson in Manitoba and her son with epileptic seizures. There's a lot of people that need it now.
Yeah,
not by increments. It's medical. It should be way more looked over than the recreational.
Look for the THC levels to maybe go to 15 or 25% instead of something that still isn't high enough to deal with the patients. And why not come up with a separate THC levels for patients?
Exactly.
And have them just available for patients. But all right, well, we've got to go. So this is an opportunity for you to do a shout out, person, place, a thing, website, anything along that line.
Well, myself, to be honest, I'm not a huge social fan. I am on LinkedIn. It is the only social account that I'm on. Someone in Alberta back in I think it's in 2008, or 2010. I walked out on a job. Some guy. I was just covering the supervision position until he came in. And when he came in, the first thing he said to me is, "Hi, nice to meet you. You must be jealous that I'm here." Instead of saying, "Hi, nice to meet you. Let's work together and see if you are jealous or not," So we made it very awkward right at the beginning, and it never really clicked I put up with it for about a month, and I said, yeah, you know what? It's not worth it. And so I left. And so I had a family, and the coworker of mine said, Natalie, I know it's hard, and I understand that you leave and you're a good worker. We're sad because he was part of my team. And he said, we're sad you're leaving, but if there's anything I can do to help you, log on to LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is professional and you'll be able to network and find people. Well, I've used it in Alberta for that. And here I am in New Brunswick learning cannabis on LinkedIn.
Yeah. And that's where I found you. And as I introduced you, compassion about cannabis, medical cannabis, I read that, and then that's what got me to stop. And then I, opened up your bio a little more and found out a little more and said, hey, what do you think? And then you told me you had watched some of the broadcasts. So
yeah, I watched a few of them actually.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. They're interesting. It's always good to learn. I mean, the more we read, or the more we watch, or the more we talk like this, I think the more awareness we're bringing, because the stigma's still there. So that's one thing that we really need to work over that.
Yeah. It'll never end. And that's why I say that wearing t-shirts, like I've got a weed t-shirt on.
Yeah. It's nice.
but usually I'll have some medical related sort of t-shirt on, and that acts as a billboard or like a sidewalk sign or whatever, and it can initiate conversations. And so it's you ever get a chance, be a walking billboard.
That's cool. And it will bring awareness. That's right.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Yeah. All right, Tamara.
And talk weed as often as I can. Got back to work after my flare up, and I had a big bag of seeds waiting for me.
Oh, way to go. And Tamara works in a job where she can teach people how to grow cannabis.
Nice. That's cool.
That's right. Yeah. All right. Other than that, you can catch the Pace Radio Show. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. Thank you to our sponsors, legacy420.com, the Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, Limestone City Hydroponics. They're in Kingston. Thanks to our guest, Natalie Thibodeau. Catch her on LinkedIn, and to my joint host, Tamara Cartwright. Plus, a big thank you to our listeners and watchers tonight on the program. And good night to you all. Bye-bye.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network, here at paceradio.net.